And we're back with episode 29 of ICOPOD. I'm Bob Collins Jr. And alongside me, as always, well, I guess not beside me, but presently in front of my face on a computer screen, Austin Skinner.
Welcome to the SummerSlam episode, everybody. Are you ready?
You're jumping ahead, bud. We're not at SummerSlam.
Oh, all right. Well, never mind then.
We're on our way to SummerSlam, and hopefully fans are going to be able to understand us this episode. Our audio won't be a shit show.
Hopefully not. Yeah, hopefully
as
not.
it was on the July 5th one, which we had to do twice.
Damn it.
So hopefully that was our little rough patch, and we've moved on.
Yes.
That was probably my fault.
Tell them why, Bob.
Well, I mean, I'm sometimes maybe leave a lot of programs open on my computer, and that probably didn't help the situation. But today I just have Google Chrome and my notes open.
Yay.
So it won't be my fault if this fucks up. Before we get into all of our news and whatnot, if you have any feedback, complaints, or anything of that nature, you can find us on Facebook at ICOPOD, and then you can send us an email at icopodcast@gmail.com. And I know that you've talked to your buddy Joe, and it's likely that he'll, I guess, potentially be on one of the upcoming live watches that we have coming up.
Mm-hmm. He's very interested. So for those of you who also might be very interested, we need to know that. And if you have the capabilities, we'd probably love to have you on. So please feel free to reach out on our Facebook, on our email address, the Twitter, even though Bob pretty much slacks and doesn't use it.
Yes.
Yeah, all those outlets.
Yeah, I definitely am slacking on ICOPOD on Twitter. But I don't want to go on there and just follow like 600 people and have them be like, oh, who? And have like 40 people follow me back.
Yeah. Well, and I'm not a Twitter guy either, so.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's okay. But let's get right into some observer notes before we get into the actual program. The WWF has gone full steam ahead with Lex Luger making him the top babyface to replace Hulk Hogan, who has decided to leave the company. Luger, as a result, will be taken off the road and will be put in a bus known as the Lex Express and will tour big cities with the idea that he'll become a huge star leading into SummerSlam. The tour starts on July 15th and ends on August 30th at SummerSlam. I just have it noted here, Syracuse is included on that tour.
Ooh, so we could have saw him.
Yes, we could have.
Bob, did you go see him?
No, I was not in Syracuse in 93. I didn't get to Syracuse till the following year, I believe, 94, 95.
Yeah, because you're from, Massachusetts, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that is the plan of attack for Luger. I actually have a magazine in front of me, the September 93 WWF magazine, and he's heavily featured on that as well, trying to promote the Lex Express and whatnot. In other news, aside from Lex Luger, there were a few debuts during the recent television tapings that took place on July 6th. They included Ludwig Borga, Nikolai Volkov, who is playing a face Soviet American, the Quebecers, Jacques and Pierre, and the team of Well Dunn, which would be Timothy Well and Stephen Dunn, who had competed in the USWA. So those guys were brought in on the most recent television taping, so I believe they would probably make their debut after SummerSlam. Or, no, not after SummerSlam, but like just right before SummerSlam. You don't like any of those?
No. No, I don't care about any of those. Especially, you know who.
Yeah, Borga. You've never been a Borga guy.
No.
I like Borga. Borga's kind of a guilty pleasure of mine. I do like the Quebecers, though. So when they finally come in, I'm sure I'll be loving up that stuff. Maybe I'll probably play the Quebecers theme song after every show, once they jump on board here.
Wow, I couldn't be any more lucky. First, you said you were going to do it with Luger's theme moving forward.
I will be. You damn right. For the next 8 months worth of shows, it's going to be "You Are My Hero." Unless, of course, there's like a debuting team, and that, I'll probably spice it up a bit. But for the most part, it's going to be the Lex Express, and you're my hero.
Well, speaking of heroes,
Yeah.
we have to circle back here for 1 second because
Okay.
I know now that this is going to be roughly quite a few episodes back, but our last live show that we released of the WCW pay-per-view Super Brawl,
Okay.
we were speaking of Vader. And oddly enough, on the episode, we were talking about Vader. And
No, I didn't listen back to it just because I didn't know if we said anything bad.
oh, okay, so it wasn't too bad,
Okay.
but it was along the lines of imagine by the time this comes out that Vader was dead. And it just so happens that by the time that came out,
Oh, God.
Vader had passed away.
Great.
And I also made a phrase of 2 years my ass, and that I was questioning the doctors.
Legitimate.
Yeah, the legitimacy of the diagnosis. So I suppose this is where I should probably apologize for that.
Well, to be fair, he didn't die from the heart complications. I think it was pneumonia.
Well, right, yeah, he had some kind of struggle with a sickness and then ended up passing, I believe, in the hospital.
Yeah.
Which
So
sucks.
if you want to get technical, I mean, it wasn't the doctor's
So my
diagnosis.
my phrase should still stand. Is that what you're telling me?
I'm not saying it should still stand, but it's not entirely your fault.
Yeah. All right. Well, fair enough. I figured we should clear the air about that.
Well, I'll clear the air right now before any more recordings. Is that Nikolai Volkov is dead? He recently passed away well before this ever happened.
Right.
So no one fucking try to kill us over that one. If we make jokes about him or say he sucks, because well, he kind of does.
Fuck. We'll apologize for that comment in a couple episodes. Don't worry.
Right when he makes his debut, we're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't have said that. He said.
Right.
Speaking of sucking, Adam Bomb did a clean loss to Tatanka in Salisbury. Yeah,
No.
and not I'm not saying that Adam Bomb sucks. I'm saying that it sucks that he's already losing.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, on a house show in Salisbury, Maryland.
All right. Well, we'll pretend that didn't happen.
Well, I mean, the only people that will know it happened is the people in Salisbury and everybody listening to this, and you and I.
Right.
So
really, that's yeah. It's only a couple million people.
Yeah. Like I think I think we're going up to like 3.4 million right now, something like that.
Right. Yeah. So as far as
that's more listeners than what Raw gets on TV these days.
Well, do you blame him?
No, I don't.
Well, all right.
Yeah. Speaking of viewership, the July 5th Raw got a 2.9 rating. So that was where it was heavily focused on Luger and who slammed Yokozuna, all that other nonsense. Not really.
Yeah, surprised it wasn't higher.
That's what I was thinking, but you got to also think there wasn't really any strong matches.
Yeah, right.
Like name wise, there were. I mean, 1, 2, 3 Kid and Blake was pretty good. Same with Taker Samu, but there wasn't a high profile match to kind of maybe lure the fans in.
True that.
Men on a Mission. They've been getting some vignettes playing, and they've made their debut on television. They are apparently going to be seen as the 90s version of the Bushwhackers.
Oh, fuck me right in the ass, then.
So when I read that, I almost hit my head on the table.
Oh, shit. We just got rid of those assholes.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, like, I fucking hate the Bushwhackers. This is well known. Anybody that's been following my writings for 10 years and who's ever been listening to this podcast since we started back in February and the Bushwhackers made a couple of appearances, you all know that I greatly despise Luke and Butch. And I don't want that to happen to Men on a Mission.
We're on a mission.
Yeah. Whoop, there it is. Yeah. They're gonna be. I hope that doesn't mean they're gonna be licking foreheads.
Oh yeah, that would be. I'd be. You know what? Sign me up.
You want to get your forehead licked
by 2 very large black men with blonde hair? Yeah.
See, I was gonna make that joke or make that comment, and then I thought maybe I shouldn't. But I'm glad you did.
Well, somebody's got to jump on the grenade, you know?
Well, yeah, it's good that you get some controversy on your hands. I'm tired of fucking getting backlash for whatever I say.
I mocked Vader being a faker. about his death. Okay.
I said in the King of the Ring podcast and totally forgot that Shawn Michaels should have said, like, hey, man, I'm the gas tank and you're the gasoline. Fill me up or something like that. Because Mike Campbell, like, messaged me and he's like, dude, hilarious. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he told me the joke. And I was like, I said that? I forgot my own joke.
Shit, we're bad. This is a bad show.
It's really... But hey, 3.4 million people listen to it, so you can't...
Yeah, some people must like it, though.
Yeah, that's all right. Speaking of, I guess, millions of people, let's go to house show notes. Although millions of people aren't really going to those shows. I couldn't think of a transition from that, so we'll just say here's some house show notes. I got 2 shows. They both took place on the same day, July 10th, 1993. The first show took place in Seattle, Washington at the Seattle Center, and there was 5,500 fans in attendance. I feel like it's one of the higher attendance numbers aside from like Madison Square Garden or something.
Yeah, because usually it's like 2,500, 2,200.
Yeah, 3,300.
Right.
Something like that. Bastion Booger took on Jim Powers. Mr. Hughes met Kamala in St. and Luna Vachon met in singles action, and WWF Intercontinental Champion Shawn Michaels took on Mr. Perfect. Now, did you hear everything I said there? Because you froze up on me, and usually that means that you didn't hear me.
I heard the first match and the last couple you just rattled off there. You were stuck on me there for a minute.
Great, so that probably means they're going to be cut up. So let me just redo it real quick for everybody.
Right. Yeah.
Bastion Booger, Jim Powers, Mr. Hughes, Kamala, Head Shrinkers, Smoking Guns, Brett, Luger, Owen, Demento, Sherry, Luna, Michaels, Perfect.
Not great. I wouldn't think. Not great. A lot of weird, like Owen Demento is weird. Jim Powers must have been filling in for somebody?
No, he was there.
And see, well, the whole thing that kills me is, especially on a house show, they have all this talent, and most of the talent's on the road, and then you still use guys like Jim Powers. I'd be booking as much talent as I can on them shows.
Well, you're not wrong.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I think I probably would have gone to this one.
I'm gonna say skip. Because we've heard that on Top Match a couple times now.
Yeah.
So assuming that I attended at least one or two of those previous shows, I'm probably not getting anything special out of this one, so I probably would have skipped it.
Well, if I was in Seattle, Washington, and I hadn't gone to a show, I'd probably. I'm not a world traveler like you.
Well, we can't all be rich, Bob.
Yeah, apparently. The other show here took place in Montreal, Quebec, at the Forum, and there was about 4,200 fans in attendance. This show features Papa Shango taking on Tito Santana, 1-2-3 Kid and Terry Taylor, Jannetty and Blake Beverly, Doink against Virgil, Tatanka, Ramon, the Steiner Brothers against Money Incorporated for the tag titles, and in the main event, World Champion Yokozuna defending against Jim Duggan.
Much stronger card. That's almost like pay-per-view strong.
You think so? I kind of think the first one's stronger.
Really? Oh, no way. With Duggan and Yoko on top. Terry Taylor, 1-2-3 Kid. It's probably going to be a decent match. The Steiners, Money Inc.
I don't know, man. I'm thinking like Head Shrinkers, Guns, Brett Luger, Sherry.
Yeah.
Sherry Luna. And then Michael's Perfect is probably stronger than Tatanka Ramon.
See, I think that's a strong match.
Steiners and Money Inc. and then Yoko Duggan.
Yeah.
The Montreal show was probably the A show in terms of name power, but I think stronger matches are on the B show.
Yeah. Yeah. Although...
just because Yoko kind of has a weak challenger at this point. Jim.
Well, yeah, and that's something we've seen already. Like, that's kind of played out. I guess that's a fair... maybe it's just that the undercard, I think, is a little bit stronger on the second show compared to, like, you know, Owen Demento and Terry.
Well, yeah, I think Jannetty and Blake is probably stronger.
Yeah.
Kamala. Yeah.
Right. Fair enough. I think I'm still going to the Montreal show over the Seattle show. Just my preference. But yeah, I guess when you put it in that point in that light, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I think of the two, I might have to go to Seattle.
All right, well then we'll meet in the middle and talk about it.
Well, I think I have to do that because I don't have a passport, so I couldn't get into Montreal anyway.
Well, I would sneak across.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I'd swim. That's a thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess you're in Florida, so I guess you'd have to do it. Yeah.
So I would have to stretch a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably like a 20-minute swim.
Right. I'll jump on Hogan's fucking ski-doo.
Right.
He's already going across the ocean anyway. He doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, with the deformed mermaids and...
Right. Yeah, and the diseased fucking sharks. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he knows what he's doing. He'll give me a lift. He lives in Florida. I'll hop right on the back, and we'll just fucking do some chin-ups on the Santa Monica Pier.
Yeah, it's the perfect crime.
Right.
So let's go into some syndication news. We got two promo we will never forget. The syndication here, I think it was mainly just 2 feature matches. Yes. So not a whole lot of news. The first match that we're going to talk about took place on the July 10th edition of Superstars. It's Crush taking on Doink the Clown. Now, these guys have had numerous different interactions on television since WrestleMania 9, where Doink prevailed over Crush. Kind of a shocking win, probably at the time.
Yeah.
For our viewing experience. Prior to the match starting, Doink appeared on the big screen, if you want to call it that, and the screen proceeded to split into 16 different Doinks, kind of giving the like, oh, how many am I? And an idiot would have to not realize that it's just the same guy.
Duplicate video. Yeah.
So Crush is looking at the big screen, kind of perplexed by the whole situation. Probably looking like, how can 16 Doinks fit in one room like that? I don't understand.
That's either what he was thinking, or he was like, "Where's the octopus?
Where are my friends on that boat?"
It's one of the two. We can't tell. Yeah.
Surprisingly, Doink was behind Crush the entire time, and Crush was completely unaware of it. And to really kind of kick things off here, Doink tosses something into Crush's face to essentially blind him for a moment, and then works over him with strikes in the corner. Doink drives Crush down on the mat with a swinging neck breaker, and then splashes down onto Crush to keep control. Doink puts a Boston Crab on Crush and uses the ropes for leverage, but he isn't going to get a submission with that because Crush has got really strong legs, brother. Doink drives Crush down on the mat, working over his left knee, and then Crush fights back with a backdrop. Doink regains control, wrapping Crush's left leg around the ring post. Crush kicks Doink with his free leg, and then Doink stumbles into the corner. Doink runs into a big boot in the corner, and then Crush is able to drop him over the top rope throat first.
Yeah, and it was kind of at this point of this match, it blew my mind because there was some definite confusion between the moves here, which is crazy to think about because you think by now these two would have worked out the kinks. Like, they've worked with each other quite extensively in 1993. So you'd think, by now, even if they're not doing a cookie cutter match, they kind of know what the moves are going to be. They know each other in the ring. To see them still kind of stumbling around was pretty disappointing, I thought, especially, like I said, because they fought on syndication and house shows for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So I don't know. I was kind of like, what's going on here?
I was going to say they've been having house show matches up until June.
Yeah.
So they've been working like 6 months together. And I'm going to put the blame on Crush, I think, for any kind of shakiness.
Yeah, and you know what? It's funny, too, because you'll even see Doink like on Raw against, whoever, and there's rarely any hiccups. So it's I hate to say it, but it's got to be Crush. And really, that seems to be a common thing with Crush because I can even remember him in a match with Shawn that we watched where things were a little shaky, and that's like Shawn Michaels. So I don't know. Crush he's like awkward in the ring, is he not? He's like awkward.
He's kind of, I think his problem is he's stiff. Not work stiff, but like body stiff.
Right.
Really flow very well.
Right.
Now, before anybody's like, wow, hey man, you guys are insulting him, he's been dead for about 10 years.
Oh yeah.
So don't give us any kind of whatever.
Well, no, I think you're right though. I think it's like a rigidness to whereas
Yeah.
everybody else is a little bit more fluid. I feel like Crush really isn't. He's very
If he were to stick to just power moves,
yeah,
then he'd be okay. But it seems they're kind of trying to expand on him, and for the most part, it doesn't work well.
Yeah, like out of his comfort zone or out of his strength zone and stuff like that. That's where it gets kind of shaky.
Yeah. The match continues with Crush lifting Doink up by his legs and then dropping to the mat out of the corner. Doink goes to the floor and then gets back into the ring to stomp on Crush a few times. Doink stands on Crush's back and then splashes down onto him as we go to a commercial break. Crush plants Doink with a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker as we come back, and then Doink begs off in the corner and misses a sneak attack attempt. Crush runs over Doink with a running clothesline. Crush continues with a leg drop and then tries for the cone of ice, but Doink eye rakes him to break free. Doink counters a clothesline with a sleeper hold, and then Crush rams Doink into the corner, but Doink hits a middle rope clothesline. Doink scoop slams Crush and goes to the top rope, but he misses the whoopee cushion as Crush got his knees up again. Crush hammers away.
Right in the crotch he lands. Those knees are right up into his crotch.
I like the whoopee cushion finisher.
So do I. And you know what? Before this, like sitting down watching all these, I always remember back to the whoopee cushion and thought, oh, what a lame finish. But once you sit there and you see it a couple times and how well Doink really does perform it, it's a whole different move.
Well, and visually you think it's devastating, but when he performs it, he lands all on his heels.
Oh,
like it's not his ass, it's not like a bonsai drop or whatever.
Right.
It looks devastating, but he lands essentially right on his feet.
Right.
Not putting much pressure seemingly on his opponent, so it's probably a really safe one as well.
Right.
Crush hammers away on Doink several times, knocking him down on the mat and steps on Doink's throat. Crush runs over Doink with another clothesline, then hammers away on him. Crush drives Doink down on the mat with a vertical suplex. Doink comes back with a running crossbody, and they both go over the tops of the floor. On the floor, Crush press slams Doink on the mats there, and the Doink prevents Crush from getting back in the ring. Right here, I was like, great. We're not going to get anything clean.
Yep, I thought the same thing.
Doink sends Crush into the ring post shoulder first, but Crush is able to backdrop Doink and gets into the ring first, thus winning the match by countout. Now, after the match, Crush continues to hammer away on Doink and sends him to the floor again. Doink is being held back by officials and is escorted to the backstage area. Now, Crush is distracted by that and is kind of like taunting Doink and all these things when a second Doink comes into the ring to break a stick over Crush's back. Now, both Doinks are in the ring, and they attack Crush to end the segment. So Crush is laid out. Mind you, this is 2 days before a WWF World Champion match against Yokozuna. Mm-hmm. What'd you think of this match, Austin?
I, to be honest, thought it was nothing special. I'm still just not a fan of Crush, so this didn't change my mind. I really don't like the double Doinks thing much either. So the fact that kind of keeps coming into play is a little bumming. It's like bums me out. I just think it makes things into too much of a cartoon. Like, we obviously know it's two different guys. So, with that aside, as far as kind of going into the finish, the way Crush gets hit with the crossbody in the ring and kind of holds Doink in his arms for a second, and then they like slowly spill over the top rope to the outside, I thought looked really weird. Like they weren't really in control of the situation. And with the finish coming and like the count out thing, I think it put a kind of a lame end to a pretty lackluster match. So I wasn't really a fan of this one. I just really wish that Crush and Doink wouldn't continue working together. Like if this was their last match of all time, I'd be completely okay with it. So needless to say, I think this was like a 15-minute video or something like that.
Yeah, the whole thing went 15 roughly.
Yeah. I would say it was skippable, but I think it was really weird, kind of like you made note of, that Crush was making kind of no headway in momentum. Like he gets beaten down by two Doinks and then that's it. Just, going into the title match. But yeah, not much to take away from me for this one.
Well, I thought the action was far better than their WrestleMania 9 match.
I think that's fair. I mean, but that's not saying much.
Yeah,
you know?
right. But I'm saying, like, I don't think I disliked it as much as you did. The finish is pretty typical, considering they probably don't want either man to really take a loss at this point.
Right.
But in order for the feud to end, I feel like there needs to be a decisive winner and move on. And Crush maybe winning here prior to the Yokozuna match probably would have been far more beneficial for him, considering Doink is able to get his heat back pretty easily, being a heel clown.
Yes.
So
no, I agree. I think that's probably the direction they should have gone in. Like, okay, give this one to Crush, close the chapter, and then he has momentum heading into the Yokozuna match.
The match was clearly, though, taped and probably made well before any of the Crush Yokozuna business. So that's a problem with syndication, though. So if you want to change things for a live show. But I thought it was, average. There's nothing.
Yeah.
They've just, that feud on television probably has overstayed its welcome at this point. The second syndicated match that we're going to talk about took place on the July 11th edition of Wrestling Challenge, and it saw Bam Bam Bigelow teaming with the Head Shrinkers to take on Tatanka and the Smoking Guns. Now, obviously, Bigelow and Tatanka have been having issues dating back to, I believe, right after WrestleMania.
Yeah, shortly thereafter. Yep,
where Bigelow cut his hair backstage on Superstars, and has been mentioned a couple times on commentary, but this is the first time they've really been in any kind of action against each other on television.
Yeah.
And the Head Shrinkers and Smoking Guns have been battling on house shows.
Right. And it's funny, too, that I even have it noted. It's like, finally, we're going to see some action between Bam Bam and Tatanka. Because, really, we haven't had much at all. Also, a very interesting thing to point out is that when Bam Bam makes his entrance for this match, there's no Luna. All right. So he comes out alone. So I think we got to keep that in mind heading into the match.
Yep. So Samu and Billy start the match with Samu shoving Billy to the canvas. Billy's able to come back with a drop toe hold, drop kick, and an arm drag. Bart tags in because he's like, hey, my brother did it, I can do. But Samu cuts him off by delivering a few chops and a scoop slam before tagging in Fatu. Bart takes down Fatu with the drop toe hold of his own and then works over the left arm. Tatanka comes off the top to deliver an overhand strike to Fatu, and he comes off the ropes to collide with them. That brings in Bigelow as he gets tagged in. He doesn't get tagged in. He gives a cheap shot to Tatanka from the apron with a knee strike, and then Fatu drops Tatanka with a strike, allowing Bigelow now to tag into the match. Bigelow runs over to Tatanka with a shoulder block twice. Tatanka comes back with a drop kick, but Tatanka drop kicks Bigelow, followed by a crossbody for a 2 count, and at this point we go to a commercial break.
Yeah, right before the break, too. You ready for this one, Bob? You probably caught it. You'll probably know exactly what I'm talking about. But Bobby and I believe it's Vince are kind of talking about Bam Bam's great-grandfather being Buffalo Bill Bigelow.
Oh, yes.
Which they've done, a couple times now when they speak of the whole Bam Bam Tatanka thing. But Bobby makes an "it's all about scalping" comment on commentary. That's what he says. It's all about scalping. Like, that's his explanation for the relation between Bill Bigelow, this made-up person, and Bam Bam Bigelow. So they're really not backpedaling too much on that. That's pretty much the story moving forward, and now we're kind of past the midpoint in 1993. So we'll see how long they carry the ball on that one.
It's just really bizarre that they're doing that.
Yeah, it's you know what? It's not even like they're alluding to it but not saying the word. They're blatantly harsh scalping. Like, this is that's the whole thing, and it's almost followed Tatanka since the beginning of 93. Like with Sean and now Bam Bam, and it's like, because he's of a Native American, that's the best story they can come up with, is scalping.
Well, Shawn Michaels had made the comment, I believe, on the March to WrestleMania night.
Yeah, for the hypes, yeah.
Yeah, so that would have been March 25th or 27th or something like that. So we're going about 4 months now where the focus is on that. And I think that if we're so, I guess, kind of shocked by this angle, I wonder what our reaction will be to various angles in the coming years of Raw.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point in comparison. I mean,
Yeah.
still though, 93, that had to be like, imagine you're a young, Native American descent, child of a, Native American descent. And this is kind of one of the things you have to endure while you watch the product. I think that's a little much. That'd be like having Virgil come out and Sean shaking shackles at him, saying, you're going to be my slave if I beat you. Give me my whipping boy. You know what I mean? But it's
no,
like,
I get it. Yeah.
It almost feels like the same thing. And not that, that would ever happen, even then or even on today's TV, but it's just so crazy to see what they could get away with, especially down to showing the fake scalp in a promo.
Yeah, that was a bit
Like,
much. But it's funny you use the shackle reference there, because I believe around this time in WCW, the idea for Harlem Heat, Booker T and Stevie Ray, was to have Colonel Robert Parker leading them to the ring with shackles, because he was kind of like a Southerner type of deal. And then I guess in the rare moment of time where WCW was actually smart, someone must have been like, hey, probably not a good idea to do that.
Well, yeah, and then the whole thing, I mean, in the South, maybe.
I mean, heavily in Georgia.
Right. But for New York to be doing this kind of crap, I don't know. It's not that I'm offended by it, but I can easily see how some people might be.
No, yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with like the U.S.-Japanese feud.
Right.
Various groups were annoyed with, and I don't want this next comment to sound weird, but I don't mind all this stuff. It is shocking and whatnot, but people should be able to understand that it's storytelling.
Yeah, it's wrestling. It's wrestling.
It's like a soap opera,
right?
If you tune into Days of Our Lives or General Hospital. I mean, I remember talking to my mother about, I think it was General Hospital, where like the character Luke, like legitimately, well, not legitimately, but the character like raped a girl or a woman on the show, and they proceeded to get married. Right. And, like they've been together for like 20 years on the show.
Right.
You gotta be able to make that distinction between storytelling and then
in real life.
Is it really that offensive?
Right.
Coming back from commercial, Luna Vachon is now at ringside, and they make sure to note that, because as you mentioned, she was not there originally.
Yes.
Back in the ring, Tatanka plants Bigelow with a jumping DDT and then goes to the top rope, but he misses a flying crossbody attempt. Bigelow continues to work over Tatanka with a falling headbutt and then controls him with a chin lock. Tatanka avoids a roundhouse kick and delivers another dropkick to Bigelow. Bart and Fatu get tagged into the match, with Fatu striking Bart down to the mat. Fatu drives Bart down with a backbreaker and then taunts Billy on the apron. Bart is then backdropped by both the head shrinkers. The referee at this point is distracted by Tatanka as Bart continues to be worked over. Samu pulls down the ropes, causing Bart to flip over and crash to the floor. Samu rams Bart face first into the ring steps. Bigelow comes off the ropes with another falling headbutt, and then he rams Bart into the corner, and Samu delivers a savant kick, followed by a leg drop for another 2 count, and we go to a second commercial break. So this match is getting plenty of time. Which I'll make sure I'll get back to that in a moment here. Bart knocks Samu down to the mat and then runs the ropes, managing to avoid another crossbody, but Samu plants Bart with a power slam. Bigelow continues to beat on Bart with strikes, but then misses a clothesline, and Bart dropkicks Bam Bam 2 times to knock him down. Bart struggles to make the tag, but gets to Billy, and he enters the hammerway on Bigelow with a dropkick. Samu enters and is backdropped to the mat. Billy sends Fatu into the ropes to hit another backdrop and then clothesline Samu. Now, at this point, the commentator's like, oh, we're running out of time. If we don't get a finish here, we'll get to you next week. So the show actually goes off the air without a winner. But they made sure to note that the following week, I guess, on Wrestling Challenge, that they would show you the finish. So luckily, the video that I was able to find here includes it all. So we're not going to wait till next week to tell you what the fuck happened. So after the show went off the air, Billy hammers away on Fatu in the corner and then leaps off the middle rope to hit a double axe handle on Samu. Samu gets tossed over the turnbuckle to hit the ring post face first. Billy dropkicks Samu to the floor. And then Fatu destroys Billy with a savant kick and wins the match for his team. Now, before we get into our thoughts on the show, I thought it was really bizarre that he got so much time and then he went off the show without a win. Now, if you're watching this show on July 11th, 1993, and you're sitting there and you're like, wow, this is great. This match is going great. We're out of time. See you next week. Are you inclined to then tune in next week to find out what happens, or are you just so annoyed that you're like, what the hell?
Well, in the worst part of it is, Bob, because I think I'd probably be annoyed if it was like, oh, fuck. Because I was like, well, what happened? I'm not going to care next week. I care right now. But I think the most annoying part of it is that what they show the following week is only maybe a minute or two more of the match. It's not even like we missed that, like a whole bunch of stuff. That's why I almost wish that they would have maybe cut out some of the middle, made the match a little bit shorter so you could get the finish at the end, because really to wait a whole week for an extra 2 minutes kind of sucks. Like, I would have been pretty disappointed with that. Although with that said, if you don't mind, I'll go right into it. I think I really enjoyed this match. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. There was a lot of action in between, and nobody on either side kind of seemed idle for too long. Like, they were all kind of doing. I mean, there was a few points where Tatanka hadn't been tagged in or really did anything for a while, but for the most part, for a 6-man tag, they kept my interest for the majority of it. There was, on that double backdrop on Bart Gunn, Bart almost lands on his neck. He kind of flails a little bit in the air and lands very awkwardly. I continue to think that Bart is the greener of the two smoking guns, and it's usually pretty obvious in the matches. So, I mean, other than that, though, for there really to be quite a bit of smoothness was pretty impressive. I think, still to this point in 93, the head shrinkers are still drastically underrated. And for Bam Bam and Tatanka to finally get a little bit of meat on the bone and fight a little bit and have some interaction was refreshing as well. The finish, I mean, I liked it because it caught Billy off guard. Like, the kick kind of comes out of nowhere, and at least it was clean. I wasn't expecting it. It wasn't a finish like typical of lately where we can call it, oh, it's going to be a DQ. Oh, no finish. Oh, this guy's going to get a roll up or, whatever. So I enjoyed that part of it. Could it have been better? Yeah, but I think that they were probably still rushing to be on a one-show schedule. So they were probably trying to rush to the finish, but obviously that didn't end up working out. But, overall, I think it was a pretty good match. I enjoyed it. And for the I think this one was about 20-minute video. I thought it flew by. I was totally into it.
Yeah, pretty much constant action. And the final few minutes were pretty enjoyable. I was quite shocked, though, that the Guns are still losing. I shouldn't say still losing. They're losing some big matches. They lost some Money Incorporated. Now they get pinned by the Head Shrinkers.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of maybe, I don't know, kind of maybe knocks them down a peg for me in terms of credibility and maybe where they rank amongst the tag teams. But the Head Shrinkers continue to be presented pretty strongly on television. That's been the case for, I think, every showing that we've seen from them. So they're a believable team and a believable threat to the tag team champions, Steiner Brothers, which I wouldn't mind seeing those guys compete. Who knows? Maybe if we got a Head Shrinker Steiner Brothers match at SummerSlam. They had a great match on WrestleMania 9, which didn't feature that many great moments.
Yeah.
So why not have it at SummerSlam as well?
Right.
But I was pretty enjoyable. Now the finish I didn't mind because it came out of nowhere. It's a clean finish, and Fatu didn't have to use a finish or anything, but
right,
a believable moment. So compared to the Doink Crush match that took place on Superstars, this is by far the better match. And more enjoyable.
Absolutely.
So coming out of our syndication news, it's time for the July 12th, 1993 edition of Monday Night Raw, which was taped on July 5th and it took place at the Manhattan Center in Manhattan, New York. Now, Raw starts off with WWF World Champion Yokozuna making his way down to the ring for his title defense against Crush. Mind you, this is only, I believe, the second WWF World title defense to take place on Raw to this point. The first one being Brett in Fatu, I believe, on March 1st. McMahon notes that Yoko was embarrassed on July 4th, and Heenan considers it a cheap shot by Luger and calls it a hip lock. They mention how Lex Luger was denied a championship match, and at this, before they go any further, Fuji is seen shooing the geishas from the ring, which I don't believe he's really done before. I know he's discredited the flowers they've given him, but kind of maybe to show frustration, he's saying, "Get the hell out of here. We have a match to come up." Coming up.
Yeah, and just to kind of prove the point of it being a tape show as well, I was able to notice that all the little mini flags were still in the audience. So that's how I knew, because that was from last week. We saw that. So I thought that was kind of lame. It was kind of a dead giveaway. Not to mention Savage and stuff. They're all in the same outfits.
Right.
So, going into this episode, though I liked the show of frustration on the part of the Yokozuna camp, I was a little worried to see what we were actually going to get with this episode.
You were worried?
Yeah, just because, historically, the taped episodes usually seem to come off a little flat. So I was hoping that this wasn't going to be the case this week, because really we've been on quite a roll. A pretty decent roll for Raws. So I was hoping that this wasn't going to be kind of the off one that we were going to get.
Is this where I do a tease, let's find out if you hated it?
I think it is, Bob.
Okay. We get the Raw opening video, get you amped up for some action. And then we come back, we go to the commentator table where Savage believes in his friend Crush, and he thinks he's going to pull it off and win the WWF World Championship, which would certainly piss off Lex Luger if that happened, while Bobby Heenan doesn't think so.
Got some pineapple breath.
That'd be nice.
Yeah.
Our first match of the evening is arguably the biggest match of the show. It is a WWF World Champion Yokozuna defending against your brudda and mine, Crush.
Octopus.
I thought this was pretty creative and something I haven't seen before or since. The fans are singing the Star Spangled Banner while they are stalling in the ring. I thought that was a pretty interesting moment.
Yes, I had it noted here too. I thought it was so funny because as Yoko's doing his ceremonial salting of the corner, he's posing, kind of all the stuff that's gotten him heat before, the crowd was worked into a frenzy. Like you said, singing the Star Spangled Banner at Yokozuna, kind of as he prepared to come out of the corner. That kind of excited me because I was like, okay, maybe the crowd isn't going to let this week suck. They were totally into this one. They really were. They were pretty invested in kind of seeing what unfolded here. But yeah, really unique atmosphere, something different, even from the Manhattan crowd that we haven't really seen. I mean, you get the Burger King chant, and they all work together and chant some funny stuff that we have seen. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. It kind of gave this a bigger feel to it.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
Yokozuna starts off by slamming Crush and comes off the ropes, but is unable to hit a elbow drop. Crush comes back with a big boot, and Yoko falls through the middle of the ropes to the floor. Now the crowd is fired up to see Yoko crashing to the floor. Maybe, just maybe, Crush can win the WWF World Championship. Crush comes off the ropes for a few shoulder blocks, but Yoko doesn't budge. Yoko stops Crush with a clothesline, but Crush fights back with right hands, backing the champ into the corner. Crush splashes Yoko in the corner, but misses another splash attempt. Yoko drops Crush with a throat thrust. Yoko drives Crush down on the mat with a headbutt, and then drops Crush throat first over the top rope. Yoko knocks Crush through the ropes with a throat thrust. So he's really focusing on the throat. Maybe he doesn't want Crush to talk anymore.
Maybe.
That'd be ideal. Back in the ring, Yoko continues to beat on Crush with various strikes, and we go to commercial break with Yoko applying the ever dangerous and his trademark nerve hold.
Yeah, and I think it was right before commercial break. One of Yoko's hair ties fall out. So he's just got like the long ponytail. And I thought that really brought the actual Samoan out of him as we kind of drift further away from the Japanese sumo that he was originally depicted as. Because really he's not that anymore. He talks perfect English, is casting away his geishas. We continue to drift, and it's unfortunate, but the falling out of the hair tie I thought was kind of symbolic to me because I think it kind of reflects where Yokozuna's at. He's kind of unraveling. He's been unraveling. Hopefully, hey, this is the show of frustration is an attempt to, bring the ship back up from the water, but I don't know. And it's going to take a lot.
You're really reading into a hair tie falling out of his hair.
Well, did it not look weird with like a long ponytail?
Well, yeah, but like I thought it was funny. You're making analogies and description of his career.
I'm an intellectual, okay?
You're really deep about it.
Yeah.
I just thought his hair tie fell out.
Yeah, well, it looks stupid, okay? So instead of me saying it looks stupid, I try to make something out of it, okay? I'm trying to get people to listen to our show, Bob.
Dramatic.
Yeah. If I wanted to, I could be like, hey, this was the match. This was the finish. It was stupid. On to the next one.
Our shows would be about 20 minutes long if we did that.
Well, maybe that's what people would prefer.
Great. They don't want to hear us give match descriptions and have me stumble over words. Great.
And freeze.
Yeah. Clip up. You can't understand what I'm saying. Hopefully it's going fine right now. I don't think we've had any problems.
Yeah, probably because you don't have 16 programs open.
God damn it, whatever. Yoko has continued to beat on Crush with strikes as we return from break. Yoko keeps a nerve hold on for several more moments because it's just so fucking thrilling. Crush is knocked down on the mat following a few chops, and then Yoko sends Crush into the corner but misses a backsplash. Crush battles back with right hands and staggers Yoko with the dropkick. Crush knocks Yoko off his feet with a clothesline. I think Crush is going to win. Crush goes to the top rope, hitting a shoulder block for a near fall. Crush pummels Yoko with right hands on the mat. The referee is out of position as Fuji whacks Crush with a flag from the floor as Crush was going to the top rope. I still think Crush is going to win it. Yoko rolls to the floor and scoop slams Crush outside the ring. Yoko plants Crush with a belly-to-belly suplex, and then he delivers a leg drop. I still think Crush is going to win.
Stop it.
Yoko drags Crush to the corner and finishes him off with a bonsai drop for the win. Wait a minute.
Crush is going to win.
Wait a minute. Crush didn't win. After the match, after a shocking upset of Yokozuna defeating Crush, Yokozuna hits another bonsai drop. And then guess what? He's not done yet. He hits a third bonsai drop. Now, Tatanka, my boy, your boy, my boy, everybody's boy, comes running out, but similar to what happened to him on the U.S. Intrepid, he just gets knocked off the apron by Yokozuna.
Looks like a total J-Brone again.
Yeah, it's not really doing much favors if they're trying to make him look good.
No.
So with Tatanka out of the picture, Yoko says, fuck this Crush guy. He was so close to winning my title. He hits a fourth bonsai drop. Now, enhancement guys come into the ring trying to help out Crush, and they get cleared out.
Oh, yeah.
Randy Savage is standing at the commentary table. Kind of, come on, brother, you can't be doing that. Come on, Crush, you're my boy. He ain't doing nothing. Heenan is blaming Lex Luger for all of this. This is all Luger's fault. You should never have slammed Yokozuna. None of this would have happened. So Savage, finally, after 4 bonsai drops, enhancement guys and Tatanka trying to help out Crush, gets in the ring to pull Crush out of the way. It only took 4 bonsai drops before Savage decided, I'll save my friend. Now, Savage has noted a couple of times on commentary during the match that he was friends with Crush. Now, before, I'll note also here, Tatanka helped Savage pull Crush to the outside. Now, I just want to ask you, Austin, if I waited for you to get bonsai dropped 4 times, and I'm literally standing 20 feet away, would you be upset with me that I said, that I waited before 4 of them? What if my excuse was like, I didn't want to get in the way. I thought you were okay. I thought you could do it. What is the reasoning behind Randy Savage to not help out his buddy after 4 bonsai drops?
Well, to me, it kind of shed a bad light on Savage because, if anything, Savage should be chomping at the bit to get his hands on Yokozuna after losing to him at the Royal Rumble. Like, oh, this fucker threw me out. I'm just waiting for an excuse.
Well, Randy Savage is a moron. He went for a fucking pin in a battle royal.
Well, nonetheless, I think...
And it's not like he had never been in one. I mean, he
Right.
had been in like 3, like all of them before that.
Right. So, yeah, I think, if anything, I would have played it to have Savage kind of gladly jumping back into the ring and he wasn't even able to slam Yoko on the Intrepid. So I would even be more pissed, like, oh, you made me look like a fool twice, brother, on it's not gonna happen and get in the way, yeah. So he's gonna run in and just fucking do whatever he's got to do. But yeah, he stands up from the booth. I think after maybe the second one, he stands from the booth and he's kind of pacing with the headset back on. And it's literally like he's pretty much debating whether or not to go in. And after seeing everybody pretty much, Jay-broned out when they come down to try and help Crush, he finally decides, okay, I'm going to go in. But when he goes in, he doesn't attack Yokozuna.
No.
He just like kind of cowardly grabs Crush's dead body and like drags it out of the ring really quick. Like he doesn't want to fight, which is very uncharacteristic, I think, for Savage. I thought it was weird. Definitely weird.
It kind of takes away from the whole like Savage is a fucking lunatic thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like a very timid Randy Savage.
Yeah, it was I don't know. I don't think I liked how he was presented there.
No, I don't think storyline wise it makes sense because Savage has every reason to want to pretty much, choke the life out of Yokozuna, and he has the opportunity, and not only does he hesitate, but he doesn't even touch the guy. I thought it was weird. Although I liked the chaos of it all. So you got Savage pacing with a headset on, Heenan screaming about Lex Luger, guys are getting thrown over the ring, Crush is getting crushed. It's just chaos for a couple minutes, and I really liked that atmosphere of it because that even added to the big fight feel, after the post match, and we get kind of the chaos that ensues. It felt important, and sometimes some of the matches on Raw really lack that, so I did like that for our opening match here. But yeah, very interesting, very weird.
We should also note that Savage would get a chair to keep Yokozuna away from them, and Crush would do a stretcher job. Now, usually when there's a stretcher job, you're gone for like 3 to 6 months or something. I believe Duggan did a stretcher job, and he was gone for about 3 months or so. So it would appear that Crush may be written off television for a short period of time.
Yeah. So Savage is on the outside with Tatanka. Tatanka's really the only one holding Crush. And Savage is basically like a lion tamer on the outside. So he's got like one of the ringside chairs. So it's not even like a folding chair. And he's kind of like hitting it at the ropes. All the while I'm thinking, what are you going to do with a little chair on a 500 pound? I don't know.
It's like a desperation thing,
Yes. And it's like, why does Randy Savage need that? I mean, I don't know. And then,
he's not juicing it anymore. He's kind of significantly smaller.
Right, he's only a commentator now, brother. Although at this time too, so Bobby Heenan's talking with Vince, and they're just kind of recapping what happened because it was when we came back from commercial break. We see Savage with the chair and stuff, and Bobby goes, "Oh, it could have been worse." And Vince goes, "What are you talking about?" As Crush is getting carried out on the gurney, Bobby goes, "Oh, it could have been me." It's like, oh, you fucker. So yeah, it's definitely a must-see segment. I think just the match itself, even though it wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't anything special. But kind of the developments in the commentary and just the whole story of it, I think is going to be important moving forward.
Yeah, it's probably an average match at best. It didn't overstay its welcome. It kind of flew. I wouldn't say flew by. It kept my interest. Right. Although Crush was never really a credible challenger.
No. No.
But he was a strong enough name to probably keep your interest into it. It's a good win for Yokozuna, and we'll see where this brings Crush. I mean, he's a face unable to defeat either Shawn Michaels for the IC title, King of the Ring, nor could he beat World Champion Yokozuna here. What can you do?
Or Doink. Couldn't beat Doink.
Yeah, what can you do? Can the fans really support, a babyface Crush at this point? So it should be interesting to see the direction for Kona Vice.
Right.
Crush.
And you know what, too? I kind of felt bad because it looked toward maybe the second half of the match. Yokozuna was really gassed. I could tell that he was really having kind of a tough time. Like even some of his basic moves, like his belly to belly, his leg drops, they just looked kind of weaker than we're used to seeing with Yoko. So I'm not sure physically what is going on. Like if maybe him gaining more weight isn't actually a shoot, but he just didn't seem to be in the ring shape he was in, 2-3 months ago, even a month ago.
Yeah, well, the thing is, you could go back and watch his debut back in, I think it's October of '92, and we're in July of '93, so it's less than a year, about 9 months. He has for sure gained a significant amount of weight, even dating back to October of '92.
Yeah.
So I think that plays a large part into his entire WWF run. So as we continue to move on, that is probably something you want to take note of and see just how large and how much that truly does impact his in-ring ability. Because I think you and I can both say that '93 Yokozuna, and maybe even parts of '94, is the best era for Yokozuna.
Oh, so yeah, for sure.
It's interesting when we move on to see just exactly when, that the weight is like, this is too much.
The breaking point, yeah.
Bobby Heenan, back at commentary, claims that Lex Luger will be put in a body cast due to Yokozuna, and again claims that all of this is Luger's fault.
Mm-hmm.
That leads us into our second match of the evening. It is the Head Shrinkers taking on Aaron Ferguson and PJ Walker. Austin, what do you got on this match?
Well, I thought right off the bat that this was going to be a quick one, especially because I don't think we have seen Aaron Ferguson. Maybe we have. I didn't recognize
it. It did not. Yeah, that was not a name I've ever heard on Raw to this point.
Okay. Yeah, so I knew kind of right off the bat, all right, these guys, well, PJ Walker has, but one of these guys hasn't even been on Raw yet. So, the Head Shrinkers went right after these guys. They hit a big back body drop on Walker, who kind of flailed like a fish in the air before, again, landing really nasty on the mat. So that's like the third rough back body drop we've seen in the last couple of watch-throughs. Just people landing really, really awkward on those. And I wanted to make note of that here. The commentators had the enhancement guys' names mixed up the whole match.
I was wondering if you were going to pick up on that because they for sure did.
Yep. So so they were calling Walker Ferguson and Ferguson Walker. PJ Walker, speaking of which, was laid out on the apron like he was paralyzed and didn't move for several minutes during the match. Not that it went very long, but it seemed like the whole time he was just on the apron, and either he was shoot hurt or he was selling like a son of a bitch because he was pretty much laying there limp. Back in the match, Ferguson was at pretty much the mercy of the Head Shrinkers, and Fatu came off hard down onto the kid with a big splash, full impact on the splash for the finish here. It was a pretty devastating match, reminded me of the Steiners throwing guys around. This was a really nice feature for the Head Shrinkers that they haven't gotten in a while. So I think with, all things considered, I think it was an effective squash match. And I hate to say it, but I bet you both enhancement guys were pretty hurt after this one, because I think that the Head Shrinkers might have been even a little bit more reckless than the Steiners have been. So yeah, it was quick. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. And PJ Walker, I hope you don't have a broken neck.
I think the Head Shrinkers are an incredibly fun team.
Yep.
And this whole, ever since we started this podcast, my appreciation for the Head Shrinkers has greatly increased.
Yes. Yep.
I don't think I've ever realized just how fun they were. I mean, this squash, like you just mentioned, was almost on the same level, if not at the same level, of what the Steiner brothers do to their enhancement guys.
Yes. Yes.
So you would think maybe the obvious direction here would be to have them take on the Steiner brothers because they are being presented very strongly.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be sold on a tag title defense because they gave the Steiner brothers an issue at WrestleMania 9, so it's built in right there.
Right, and you know what? It was probably the strongest match on WrestleMania 9.
Oh, by far.
So it's only natural that they have, another match. So
I enjoyed the whole thing. I kind of laughed when Walker was on the apron the entire,
my God, yeah.
entire match. I really thought he was hurt, but no official came out or anything, so he was probably all right.
No, and you know what, too? He was like in the Christ pose, so his legs were like overlapping one another, and his arms were just kind of like out to the sides.
Yeah,
he looked like he was selling his ass off, must have been, but he looked like he was paralyzed. Yeah.
It certainly didn't look good. But there's something that does look good, and it's an ad promoting a rematch between Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels to take place next week on Raw, and it is for the WWF Intercontinental Championship. I like this ad. I think it's one of the first times we've had an ad like this.
Yeah,
to promote a match the following week. It adds it to like, oh, this is a big deal. Like it's its own ad. This is gonna be great. So I really like that little touch to it.
No, yeah, for sure. Because when I first saw it, I was like, are they hyping a match for SummerSlam right now? And it's like, oh, next week on Raw. I was like, fuck yeah to that.
Yeah.
It just made it feel more like, oh, you better tune in. Like this is a big match.
You can't miss it.
Yeah.
I thought that, I thought I got the same vibe from it.
Right.
We got an ICOPRO ad with Lex Luger. If we should do a tally of how many times it's just gonna be Lex Luger at this point. But they at least rotated it a few times, and now it's just been Luger the entire time.
That's what I was thinking too, because you think about it. You got the Steiners as the champs. They've done an ICOPRO ad. You could play that.
Yep, Brett.
Brett's still a main facet
Tonka.
of the show. Yep, the Tonka. I mean, there's guys to use, and they're
Crush is like dead though, so they probably won't want to use him.
Yeah, they probably won't use him. But yeah, there's guys to use, and they're just not. They're not.
They should do like a Doink ICOPRO. You gotta want it. Come on. Perfect.
Yeah, or Yokozuna. Imagine a Yokozuna one. Hulk Hogan, you don't use ICOPRO, you're dead. That's it.
What about our Virgil? I could just see it now.
Yeah, he's just sweating.
Yeah.
I work hard at the gym. You could too. ICOPRO, you gotta want it.
Did I do it? Did I do it right?
We good? Where's my payday?
Where my 150? Is this membership free or am I paying for it? Shit.
Yeah, I don't know. Where's
Ted? Ted.
You know his ass ain't there.
Or like you could do Money Incorporated, like DiBiase does it, and IRS could be like, you can't write this off.
Oh my God!
No. Want it.
Listen, I just came up with the best ICOPRO ad ever.
If it's fucking Kamala, I'm gonna walk out.
No. Listen. So it's a close up on really ripped abs, right? And like Ted's doing the voiceover. He's like talking about ICOPRO. He's talking about the product, and then the camera pulls out, and it's like a different guy, and Ted's like paying him off to pretend. You know what I mean? So it's like Ted's paying the guy off to make him seem like it was his ripped abs. And Ted's like, no.
Don't zoom out.
Yeah. It was like Ted's paying the guy off to be his stand-in model.
That would be hilarious. That's awesome. We also get an uneventful Slim Jim ad with Randy Savage.
Yeah, chips.
And you know, and the whole like snap sound, like
and it's like
Yeah. But like he doesn't even like really snap into it. He's just like kind of gently biting it.
Yeah. And then it's like such an over dramatic sound. Yeah.
We get our third contest of the evening. It's Tatanka against the Brooklyn Brawler. Now, I guess I'll just do the rundown for this one, save you from any kind of misery here. Brawler begs off, but he only wants to taunt the fans at the beginning. Tatanka controls Brawler early on with strikes, while Savage explaining why he got involved in the Yokozuna crush aftermath. They're really driving home the Luger-Yokozuna situation on commentary throughout the match. Brawler bails to the floor after a strike and then quickly gets in the ring. Tatanka hits a power slam as Brawler was coming off the ropes. Tatanka hits a hammerlock scoop slam. but Brawler comes back with a short arm clothesline. Brawler drives Tatanka down with a neck breaker, but doesn't go for a cover. Heenan actually mentions the Bigelow-Tatanka feud and says that Tatanka put the moves on Luna months ago, and that is why we're explaining it. So are we getting away from the scalping now, and it's Tatanka was trying to mac it to Luna? Because I can't possibly see that being a realistic angle. No. I mean, do I do the Heenan joke here where where Heenan could be like, Tatanka was like, hey, how are you? Hey, how are you? To Luna, and like she misinterpreted it. Who knows? I don't know. But I didn't buy that. I'd rather just have the scalping thing.
There you go. Yeah, you'd rather have that. Well, speaking of good commentary notes here from Bobby, we earlier on, and kind of when the match first began, we got like an explanation of, Brooklyn Brawler's got the hometown turf here in New York City. And Bobby says, yeah, Tatanka would have had the hometown turf too, if their hometown turf too, if his people hadn't sold the island for a fake Rolex.
Yeah.
Fucking A. It's brutal. Brutal.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Fucking Bobby Heenan. The things you get away with, I'm telling you, it's remarkable.
And just his delivery is like, you can tell it's like a shtick, but there's some truth to his feelings, I think, behind some of his comments.
Well, you know what they say, with every joke, so there's some level of truth.
Yes.
Which I don't know if that's entirely true, because sometimes I've said jokes that I don't mean at all. It's a joke. Yeah. But you never know with Bobby Heenan.
No, yeah, you don't. And that's his master. That's just the way he does his craft, and I think that's why it works so well. But yeah, a lot of lines from the commentary so far this show. So be on the lookout for that.
Brawler clotheslines Tatanka and then chokes him with his T-shirt to get some cheap heat there and cheap offense. Brawler works over Tatanka with a stomp to keep him on the mat, but Tatanka will not be kept down because he goes on the war dance. And he proceeds to hit a top rope overhand chop and then finishes him off with the end of the trail. Now, it's been a long-running note here that I've been a huge Tatanka fan, but this is pretty fucking boring. And I'm going to blame this on the Brooklyn Brawler not needing his lengthy heat segment on Tatanka. Now, I have myself questioning myself here at the end here. Does this mean that I now hate Tatanka? I don't know. I guess we'll have to find out in the coming weeks if I have now fallen out of love. And I'm going to need a new person to fall in love with.
Well, I'll tell you what, I definitely was not in love with this match. I thought it went way too long, kind of served no purpose. I thought Tatanka was having too much of a hard time with the Brooklyn Brawler.
That's right. It went like 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's too long, I thought, for this.
Yeah, it was.
And it even got to a point where Vince apologized that they were ignoring the action in the ring with talking about kind of other developments. Savage was even kind of still brewing over what just happened with Crush, as he said to kind of make his point that somebody needs to call their congressman because Jack Tunney needs to be removed out of office for what just was allowed to happen to Crush. So he's already like trying to project the blame. Oh, it's Jack Tunney's fault for allowing that to happen. So Savage is still kind of brewing over that. But yeah, it was nothing special here at all. I think the fans really weren't even into it. I heard a couple like Men on a Mission chants like during this match.
Abel and Mo, baby.
Yeah, so
and Oscar. Can't forget about Oscar.
Right. So the fans aren't into it. The commentary team's not into it. I didn't give a fuck about it. So yeah, fast forward through that one.
Yeah.
Pause for the commentary and then fast forward.
Yeah, we're just going to do a quick moment of silence for maybe the death of my love for Tatanka. Okay, and then we hear from, hey, I was trying to be sweet. We hear from fans who think that Lex Luger deserves a title shot against Yokozuna for the WWF World Championship. This seems really forced.
Oh, my God.
It's all children, for the most part. And, I mean, you can see like one of them's just staring at the guy that I'm assuming is giving direction. He's just like, what?
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, Lex Luger, yes, he deserves a touch, or whatever the case is.
Yes.
Incredibly forced.
Yes. No, I was gonna make note of that too. So they're outside and kind
I
of.
was I was kind of hoping that someone would be like, no,
It's just one of the kids. No, it should be Brett.
I like Brat.
Yeah.
Mr. Hughes.
It would have been more realistic.
Yeah.
But no, basically what they're doing here is they're pulling kids, quote unquote, from the line outside in front of the Manhattan Center before Raw kind of goes on air. And I think it's like 3 or 4 of them. They're all super, super young, so you don't get like a teenager who might say something weird. They all have like either a Lex Luger Express, Lex Express button, or like a t-shirt, a hat. And that's the whole gist of it, that they're trying to convey the fact that, oh, look, even the kids are already invested in Lex. And they're saying that, he should be allowed to have the title match. And if Lex were to get the belt, blah, 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 and all this stuff. So it's just blatant kind of promotion. And just like Bob said, there is one kid where literally he's not even looking at the camera. He's looking kind of to like the left of it and is definitely being coached on what to say. So I don't know. Not a good look.
No, it's not viable, and it kind of hurts Luger that if fans are thinking, wow, they have to convince these children to like him and want. And but can you really blame anybody? I mean, they haven't really allowed that natural like face turn. It's all been pretty forced.
Yeah, it just happened. Like this was last week's events.
Yes.
You know, they're already trying to convert the nation. It's like, we're not ready for that. These kids are not ready for that.
Yeah, and then we're trying to also make it known, like, he slammed a guy, and now he deserves a title shot.
Right. He's going to go on this crusade across the country to, kiss every fan's ass that he meets. It's like, I don't know. Would Stone Cold do this?
No.
No.
He would probably stun every kid.
That's what I'm saying, and give him the middle finger. Like,
I don't need your sympathy, motherfucker.
Right. Like, it's just so cheesy and 1986 angle. It's just, it's frustrating. As soon as you think we're getting progress and, the guns come in, kid comes in, to be back to an angle like this where it's like, oh, the All-American guy is going to go on a crusade across the country. And it's like, that's fucking horrible.
Now, the only way that it will truly be like a 1986 angle is if Lord Alfred Hayes has to promote like an address to write to, and you get to hear "write to" WWF PO Box 13079, whatever it is.
And then only if it'd only be true 1986 if Eddie Gilbert comes in and blows a fireball in Lex's face to end the segment. Yeah,
accurate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That would be kind of funny.
Right.
This is the next week on Raw. They're like, what the hell? Eddie Gilbert.
Right in his face. Oh. Yeah.
That'd be pretty good. We go to our fourth contest after all this. Mr. Hughes taking on Tony DeVito. I know. Grip your chair. This is like dream match fucking quality stuff. This is going to be intense. Someone brings out a black wreath. I believe it's like one of those pale looking guys or whatever.
Yeah.
And they bring the black wreath to ringside, and Hughes sees it as he's beating on DeVito. Heenan questions if it's from The Undertaker or it could have just been something the guy likes to bring to the ring.
Right. It's like one of those funeral bouquets.
Yeah.
So it's got like the rest in peace like thing sprawled across it. But Heenan accuses the guy of, maybe he just likes the flowers and want him to bring them to the match. There's just some random guy.
That'd be a great fucking character.
Like, what?
You cost me a match against Tony DeVito because you're bringing fucking flowers to the ring?
I'm going to beat your ass.
Dude, I'm so sorry. I just wanted to liven up the fucking ringside. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Hughes could have won the match at one point, but continues his offense with a drop kick. And he talks smack to the camera saying, The Undertaker is going down. And he proceeds to win with his sidewalk slam. I guess this would give Hughes momentum, but nothing all that interesting is going on here. Just your basic squash match. After the match, Hughes breaks the wreath and says The Undertaker knows where to find him.
Yeah, he goes, and then doesn't he call him like, he goes, oh, boy.
Yes. Yeah, that's his go-to
You know where to
phrase.
find me, boy. And he like walks out. But as he's stomping on the flowers, so he takes the flowers off the wreath, slams them down, like slams the whole easel on the floor. And he's like stomping on him. It almost looked like he kind of slipped, and then he like tried to cover it as him like really smearing him into the ground. So I
Mr.
just
Hughes doesn't slip.
yeah, I thought it was pretty
Does not.
entertaining.
He's not fucking Diesel, okay, with girly stomps and looking like a fool.
I want Mr. Hughes to tag with Doink and be like his assistant and like in clown makeup and a clown costume with the sunglasses on, but clown face paint. I think it would be absolutely goddamn hilarious.
I think he would probably quit.
I wouldn't.
I
I'd
could just
tune in.
see it now. Bruce Pritchard approaching him with that, and he'd be like, "What you talking about, boy?
Boy,
Clown? You want me to be a clown, boy? I'll show you a clown, boy."
I ain't working for you clowns no more.
Yeah, I'm quitting.
Back to
I'm outta here.
WCW.
And then, ironically, in WCW, I can see Dusty Rhodes going, "All right, baby, got this great idea for you, baby. You're gonna be the first black clown." And he'll be like, "Boy, what the fuck are you talking about?"
We gonna shoot you to the moon, baby. You gonna be a clown.
And he'll be like, "I'm going to Mr. Hughes. I'm going to fucking Japan." And he goes to Japan, and like New Japan, like, "We got the great idea for you. Japan people love black people. They also love clown.
They scared of both. You be both.
You be black clown." And he'll be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Oh shit! In Mexico, payaso. Oh, God damn it! Shit.
Now, meanwhile, Virgil will be like, "Hot damn, I'll do it. Give me that money."
For how much?
For free? All right. Sign me up.
Yeah.
We go to the SummerSlam 1993 report with Mean Gene. Now, of course, SummerSlam takes place on August 30th, and the only match currently announced is Bret Hart taking on Jerry Lawler. Gene also says that there will be a major announcement from Lex Luger this week on Superstars and Wrestling Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Coming out of the report, we go to Vince McMahon and Bobby Heenan, and they promote the Bret Lawler match briefly. It's pretty much, Lawler feels like he's the king, and Bret's an imposter king, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
Pretty basic stuff. We then go to another Men on a Mission vignette, and that leads us to our main event, if you want to call that. It just happens to be the last match. It's always been, I just call it the main event, but it's realistically not the main event. Main event is Adam Bomb against Scott Atami.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what do you have for this, Austin?
Yeah, real quick before we get into the main event.
Yeah.
So just to kind of recap the Men on a Mission promo. Basically, we get like a girl swinging on the swings, guys playing basketball, and this time Mo got a hype verse for himself. So kind of like a brief little thing to kind of spotlight him. Then it was Mabel's turn, and he had no charisma. He just kind of nodded along with the beat. He's like, yeah. To whereas Mo kind of put a little bit more into it, while Oscar like rapped about him. Mabel is just so out of place, it seems like, in these promos. I don't know if he was just uncomfortable or I don't know. Maybe he just wasn't in the mood or wasn't feeling these vignettes. But the past like two, I believe we've seen, it just seems like he doesn't fit with the group. He's just kind of like the odd man out. Just kind of, well, yeah, I'm cool too, but I don't know. All right.
I don't know what the fuck Oscar was talking about, but yeah.
Yeah, so I have to kind of reflect my same feelings. I'm kind of feeling like Mabel, like, okay, we'll see, But yes, right out of that, we get the video footage of, the bombs going off. I love this. I love the whole mystique behind Adam Bomb. His theme of like the wind after an explosion.
Yes.
Everything. So Johnny Polo again is leading him to the ring, and Bomb looked like he was wearing a new singlet. It was mostly like yellow and red, to whereas I think the last one was more so black.
Yeah, black and red I think is his usual go-to attire.
Yeah. Although I liked this new one. It looked good. It looked like it was pretty well made, and I think the splash of color did him well. And here we go. Scott Amati was his next victim here. So I thought kind of as this match started that Bomb looked even bigger than the last time we saw him. Like menacing wise. And it's because this Scott Amati guy is fucking miniature. Like he's really like small, skinny. So when they lock up and you see this little guy lock up with Adam Bomb, it was hilarious because he was like locking up above his head, and Bomb's like down at his chest, like locking up with this little small guy. It was great.
He should have taken Bomb down with an arm drag.
Oh my god. Oh my god. He would have had to jump to do it. Yeah, it was pretty funny. So kind of going into the action part of this one. Bomb was I noticed as we got into it that he was I don't know if he had it last time we seen him. I can't remember. I'm trying to think, but he had an Atom Bomb tattoo on his shoulder. And I want to say that's a new addition. Because they did make
Atom Bomb tattoo.
Yeah, so it was like a bomb, and then it said in block letters in red, Atom, and then bomb on the underneath.
Oh, I don't think I've ever noticed that before.
Yeah, and well, because they even like kind of highlighted it and zoomed in on it, so I think that was like a new.
So it's probably not even like a legitimate tattoo, then.
Oh, I guarantee you it wasn't. It looked like a stick-on.
Yeah.
It was pretty big though, so they made mention of that as we kind of got into the action here. So with that, Bomb whipped this kid from corner to corner by his throat. So he picked him up from one corner and like threw him across the ring by his throat. And from there, it was just downhill. Bomb hit, his clothesline off the top. He hit his power bomb that looked really good because this time when he hit the power bomb, he like pulled the guy right down into it. So once he was at the top for the power bomb, he pulled him down to the mat and really kind of slammed him pretty stiff. It looked like the kid got whiplash, put it that way. So we didn't get too much offense. I mean, it was little stuff here and there, all still pretty impressive. And of course, the power bomb was the finish. Kind of shifting gears. I really wish Polo's gimmick made more sense to be paired with Adam Bomb. I don't get it. I don't get why he even really needs Johnny Polo. I think it kind of takes away from him a little bit, to whereas I think he's impressive enough in the ring, visually and moves wise. He doesn't really need a manager. He doesn't really need to be cutting promos either right now. I don't know. If there's one thing I'm not a fan of with Adam Bomb's appearances, it's when Johnny Polo's at ringside. And I nothing against the guy, but I don't like the pairing. I don't like the pairing.
I agree with the Polo thing. And they even mentioned, or they kind of highlighted Polo for a minute in the match as he had like a badminton racket and he was like kind of twirling it. And it just came across like a cheap Jim Cornette attempt.
Well, and not only that too, it's like they're trying to get Johnny Polo over more than they're trying to get Adam Bomb over.
Yeah, it's weird. He doesn't need him.
No.
It's not as if Polo's cutting promos for him or anything. If they just had Adam Bomb by himself and just destroying people, you're probably going to have a greater impact.
Right.
You can even make the argument that Polo's kind of distracting at ringside. So it probably doesn't help there. But still, what I'm seeing from Adam Bomb, I'm liking it still. And I wouldn't mind seeing him get elevated up the card and work with some bigger names.
Mm-hmm.
I also have a note though here during the match that Savage was getting pretty fired up with Heenan as they were talking about what happened to Crush earlier. So he was getting really, really annoyed with what Heenan was saying to him and almost kind of seemed like he wanted to fight Heenan.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, that was right kind of like before the match even started. It's also noted here that tickets for the July 19th show, which would be next week, are still on sale. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a good sign that tickets are still being sold.
Yeah.
Maybe the Jannetty Michaels match being announced will probably potentially help with ticket sales there.
Right.
We get a WWF Figures ad to continue on there. And then we are told that next week, the 1-2-3 Kid will be here. Men on a Mission will be making their Raw debut. King's Court with Tiny Tim. Plus, WWF Intercontinental Champion Shawn Michaels defends against Marty Jannetty. Now, final thoughts on this program. I thought it was pretty average, as there is a major angle with Crush being taken out by Yokozuna. So there's something memorable there. Maybe the aftermath of it is worthwhile to see. And a few of the squash matches, like Head Shrinkers, was pretty enjoyable along with Adam Bomb. So as a whole, match-wise, like the show isn't very strong, but for a 45-minute episode, I thought I was entertained enough to where I could give it a positive recommendation.
Yeah, for me, I just had that it wasn't a bad Raw. It wasn't bad at all. Not as much action as I'd usually like. Just as far as kind of like the quality. I mean, there was decent, like you said, decent squash matches, but nothing outstanding. We didn't get that nice kind of to hang your hat on for the episode. But with that said, I think it was a nice setup for next week, and likely after watching this one, I'd be looking to attend live Raw next week. Like I'd want to be there in person. So I think in that sense, kind of the setup, it accomplished it tremendously. I think next week looks, even though it might be kind of a mixed bag on paper, there's some weirdness thrown in there, just with the Tiny Tim thing, but it seems like it's going to be a happening, and that's where I wanted Raw to be this whole time. Like it's a happening. Like you have to be there. Not only do you have to watch it, you got to try to get a ticket to get in because something's going to happen. So I think with that said, is this a great standalone episode? Not necessarily, but I'm hoping that it's going to be an awesome complementary episode to next week.
Yeah, I mean, I would have been probably sold into going to the arena for Michael's Jenny, just with the way that it was presented. Like, oh my God, yeah, let me check that out. Luckily for the listeners of this podcast, you don't need a ticket to listen to us because we're free.
That's right, baby. We're free.
We're free. We're cheap.
That's right.
We'll do whatever you want. Okay, anyway. So for the most part, since we both pretty much enjoyed this episode, I'm definitely intrigued for next week's episode. The next week is one of the maybe more heavily hyped episodes of Raw coming up.
Yeah, they really put kind of the promotion behind it. I'm kind of, so guilty pleasure wise, I'm kind of interested to see what else they do with this Lex Express thing moving forward. I think you can only show him kissing babies and doing things, having kids interviewed on the outside so much to where it's going to be kind of sickening. So, with that kind of in the back of my mind, I'm interested to see if at all or how they try and switch it up to really keep the steam rolling with Lex, because the way it's starting out here and the way and how hard they're pushing it on commentary and talking about it every match on commentary, it's not starting off on the right foot for me. I have a feeling next week we're going to see a whole bunch more, and the weeks to follow we're going to see a whole bunch more, but I think they should really, really tread lightly if they want this thing to actually work even a little bit. And I'm afraid that they're not going to heed those words.
Do you think it's a good idea to have him not on the road?
No, I think realistically the only way you get a guy over is if you put him in front of the people and make him do stuff that they want to see. I think it's just such a hollow way of doing it. You know what I mean? There's no guts to it. It's just, here's what it is. There's no real interpretation either way. This is what it is. This is all that it is. To whereas when you're doing matches and you're having them cut promos in the arena and there's more guts to it. This just seems kind of like a cop out. Like, oh, you're going to like him either way because that's just what you get with this, So I don't like that part of it. I don't think it's going to benefit him at all. I get that they're trying to maybe do something different with Lex, but this isn't the guy. This isn't the way it's going to work. I think he would have got over more if maybe he just moved away from the narcissist a little bit, but still was as kind of badass and I don't care, but I care a little bit, I think that would have worked better. Yeah.
Kind of like what Razor Ramon's doing.
Right.
I think it's difficult to get behind Luger just because he was arguably, next to Yokozuna, the most unlikable guy.
Yes. Yeah. One of the most effective heels, for better or worse, that they had. Yeah.
So I think you're going to kind of have a tough time to have fans want to be like, oh, I want to meet Lex Luger.
Right.
So hopefully people listening to this would want to meet us.
Yeah, probably not.
Well, I was trying to reference to maybe a live watch or maybe even a future appearance on ICOPOD, which you can do if you get in touch with us on Facebook at ICOPOD or send us an email to icopodcast@gmail.com. I don't know if you have anything else for this episode, Austin.
Not necessarily for this episode, but yeah, we seem to get pretty positive feedback from the live watches. People seem to enjoy those. I know specifically like the Joe, who we were looking to have on the podcast, says that he almost prefers the live listens. So either way, we're still kind of open to feedback. We're still testing some stuff out, but I think we have a pretty solid format. We, from the vote on Facebook, we're definitely going to stick with the notes moving forward for the Raw shows and the pay-per-views, because I know that was at one time kind of debated. Maybe people would rather that we just kind of shoot from the hip.
I think if we were to shoot from the hip thing, that might be beneficial for when we get to like Monday Night Wars or something.
Yeah, because at that point, we're going to have so much content that you almost have to, or else you're going to go nuts kind of sitting there reviewing 6 hours of wrestling all the time.
That's exactly my thing. Because if we were to sit down and be, let's just talk about a 45-minute, as it's going on.
Right.
It might be more intriguing. Just until we get to that point. Because right now, writing these shows is 45 minutes long. It's not that big of a deal.
Right.
I know I've reviewed a bunch of the Raws from like 96, 97. So I don't know if I really want to go through that again. I've done it for 93, but that was like I've said, like 10 years ago. So
right.
It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, I mean, I think when we get to that point, it might be more refreshing for us,
right?
To do a live watch when we get to the Monday Night War era,
right? So stick with us. We're hopefully by now, this episode, we can kind of stick our flag in the peak, because audio and bandwidth and everything else seems to kind of be cooperating with us finally.
Yeah.
So we hopefully have figured it out after, a couple weeks of being 1,000 miles away from each other. But we appreciate you guys bearing with us. And again, hopefully the worst is over.
Not knowing our luck, when you go to upload it, it'll be like a minute 30 again. We'll have to redo it.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, that was pretty fucking bad. But Austin, you may be 1,000 miles away from me, but there's something I have to tell you.
What?
You'll always be my hero.
Does this mean the song's playing, Bob?
Yeah, it is. I'm Bob Cowling Jr. And for Austin Skinner, this has been ICOPOD.
You gotta hear it.